van itself is like an urban
But you know,
legend.
it is, but that's because they build like freaking
Utility vans.
torture chambers
Yeah, they
back
do.
there. They do.
I
Like
know.
this one killer guy team, they called theirs Murder Mac was what they named their white van,
God.
and they had it set up with everything they needed, and they would just snatch, open, one would drive, the other one would fling the door open, grab a girl, and they just drive away. Lily's dad, Travis, his cousin, was murdered that way, and she was literally thrown out on the highway.
Where was she murdered?
Here, around here.
Did they find her murderer?
Oh my God, that might have been around in Clark. No.
They never found her murderer?
No,
What was her
oh my
name?
gosh,
Let's
what
write
was
her
her
down.
name? Yeah, because that would have been the right time frame. She was raped and murdered and thrown out along the highway, like up in toward Clarksburg. I really think so. And her last name was Van Pelt, I think,
So we'll have to look that up.
because it was his
Do you
dad's
know the
brother's daughter.
year?
No, I'd have to ask Travis
It
about
had to have
her.
been the 70s or 80s.
No, I'm thinking it was 80s, early 90s, like probably 92, and that would be right in that time frame of him being 20 to 30 years old. But
If
she
it
wasn't a
was
prostitute.
him,
Yeah.
that doesn't seem like his MO, though.
No, I was gonna say she was really pretty.
That sounds like one of the highway killers.
I think somebody's seen her at a mall or something. She was really pretty. Really pretty
Yeah.
girl. I've seen pictures of her. Her dad, he committed suicide because of her death.
What
And how
was
he
her-
never got over it.
What was his name, do you know?
Yeah, his name's Lee. I knew him.
Lee
And
Van
his
Pelt.
wife is Debbie. Yeah.
So you knew him before he committed suicide?
Yeah. And I knew his wife. Yeah. He never really got over the daughter's death. She had a brother, too. He's alive still. I met her brother.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, so there we know about that one.
There's another victim.
Yeah, in our area. See, I never even heard about that.
Yeah, it happened around here. I'll have to ask Travis a little more about it. And then I dated Jeff. His mom was murdered.
Yeah, we're going to look into that too.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people don't believe it was Rick.
No, a lot of people don't think it was the guy they caught.
Right. And her name was Cindy Croston. And we're also going to look into the death of Sherry Grote and Yvonne Efall. Because that is one of the latest ones in 2011.
And that one was nobody caught.
Nope, and they put a plastic bag over her face and everything, put her in the bathtub, killed her partially, brutally murdered her, and suffocated her, and then tried to set the house on fire.
Yeah.
To cover it, and there was nobody found in those murders either.
And that was within the last, 10 years, 15 years?
2011.
2011, okay.
Yeah. So, and then there's been a couple boys that's come up missing in between.
Oh, yeah?
There, like, in our area. Yeah. So, back to this co-ed thing.
Yeah, okay.
I was telling you, strange anonymous letters were sent to West Virginia State Police. On April 6, 1970, they received this letter. I have some information on the whereabouts of the bodies of the two missing West Virginia University co-eds, Merritt Malarick and Karen Farrell. Follow directions very carefully to the 10th degree, and you cannot fail to find them. Proceed 25 miles directly south from the southern line of Morgantown. This will bring you to a wooded forest land. Enter into the forest exactly 1 mile. There are bodies. 21 plus 1 equals 26 miles total. Will reveal myself when the bodies are located. Sincerely, Triangle.
Wow.
So the Governor Arch Moore, for some reason, would not investigate this. Police actually believe that it was someone from upper class that was a student with them murdered these is the killer around here. In 1970, he kept interfering with it, and then he went down for corruption anyway. He was a governor at this time.
Oh wow! So he could have been being paid off to not investigate this kid killing people. Yeah.
So they didn't do anything. So they got a second letter with the same instructions and urgencies, and then they finally sent out. And this is April 14th. So from April 6th, from January 18th to April 14th.
Wow. Okay.
So then finally on the 17th, they found the bodies. So the second letter said, I'll get to it back here. Here it is. I have delayed writing another letter in hope that you would conclude more information by this time concerning the finding of the bodies. Since this has not substantially happened, I will send along another clue while your men are still in the area. The heads can be found from the position of the bodies by striking out 10 degrees southwest for the first head and approximately 10 degrees southeast for the second head, roughly 1 mile. You are already 7/10 of a mile. They are within a mine entrance, if you can call it an entrance considering its condition. They are buried not over 1 foot in depth. The ones responsible for the murder scattered some of the girls' personal effects over the general area, creating a pattern of confusion, making it difficult for you to pinpoint any exact location, which that was true. My first 2 letters triggered your intense search. Don't give up now. Sincerely, Triangle.
So he's trying to play with the cops.
Get this. So after tracking the handwriting, they found out that it was more than one person. So there were 30 members, mostly elderly, belonging to the Psychic Science Church in Cumberland, Maryland, led by Reverend Richard Warren Hoover and Fred W. Scanning, consulted by tape recording, allegedly divine with the whereabouts of the girls. He claimed he put himself into a trance and channeled a 19th century physician from London, Dr. Spencer. This physician turned spirit world described the perpetrators as black male, 5'7" from West Virginia, and a white male with blue eyes and blonde hair. He said that the 2 belonged to a cult that sacrificed the girls in a satanic ritual. So each letter writing cult member was cleared of any involvement in the girl's death. The case would grow stagnant for another 6 years until a Camden County jail inmate would take credit for the death of the 2 freshmen. However, this confession that he gave had so many inconsistencies, and he recanted it. He said all kinds of stuff that didn't go along with the stuff, and he was already in jail. He was already in jail in 1974 for the rape of a 13-year-old girl, forcing a 14-year-old boy into sex acts at gunpoint.
Oh, man.
In his confession, he stated they kidnapped the girls by gunpoint, took them to a secluded area, handcuffed, raped them in the back seat, switched them, raped them again, then forced them to perform sex acts. And then he recanted, saying that if he could, he thought that he would get switched over to the mental institution.
Oh, okay.
Instead.
So he was saying that.
Here's what he said. He said he
better.
made up the stories after reading about the girls in detective magazines. His cellmate helped him fabricate the confession because thought if he was arrested and acquitted, he could get. That's what it was. Because he didn't do it, he could get acquitted, and then he could get out of time serving in New Jersey. So he added a sexual component to make it sound more believable. Despite recanting a severe lack of evidence, and Clausen was convicted and sentenced to life in prison in 1976. He was overturned a conviction in order to retrial in 1981. The new trial took place in Randolph County instead of Morgantown to avoid prejudice. So he got out of it. Yeah. So, and there was no hands. The method that he described, he testified that he would take sodium pentothal to clear his name.
Yeah, that was the truth serum they would give him back then.
He had Kessler syndrome, and he wouldn't have been physically able to have executed and exercised sexual methods. Plus, the way they were found inside of a burial. Which I'll say that here.
They did find the bodies, but not the heads, right?
Right. So, the headless bodies of 2 missing women co-eds were uncovered in a crudely constructed tomb of stones in Limbs 6 miles south of Morgantown yesterday, marking a tragic end to an 88 disappearance. Both bodies have been decapitated and no heads, prosecuting attorney Joe Loretta said last night. I have authorized an autopsy on the 2 bodies that were discovered. It was conducted by the hospital at WVU, and the cuts at the neck were clean, he said, and the girls had been shot or stabbed. They weren't able to tell. After 4 hours in removing the remains, police said that they wanted step-by-step pictures, which the pictures accidentally became exposed, and there was evidence missing too.
Oh, that sucks.
Under under that governor.
Okay.
They were side by side, overlapping each other. They were placed under branches which served as a framework for the limbs and stone slabs which covered the bodies. They were well hidden in the tomb. If I had been walking past, I probably wouldn't have even noticed. They were able to locate the bodies because of one foot was partially exposed. Couldn't have been done by animals because the tomb served as some sort of protection. The heads were off before the graves were built. The coroner said the head was completely off the girl, who was clad in blue bell-bottom slacks, apparently Miss Mallory, and there was more neck showing on the other body. Bauer said the other body, apparently Miss Farrell, was unclothed from the waist down and that the pelvic area was badly decomposed. The pelvic bone was almost bare, no flesh, said Captain Bully. However, the other guy, Bowers, who was that? The state police guy, Bally, and Bowers, who is the other state guy, because they switched them. You just have to read it.
Okay.
Okay, anyway, there was conflicting stories between both officers.
Right,
One, Bauer, who said that the pelvic bone was almost no flesh, and Bully, who claimed that the bodies were fully clothed. When asked about Bauer's statement, Bully replied, "I saw clothes." Bauer said both girls still were wearing gloves, though, because it was January.
Mm-hmm.
The coroner said the process of positive identification would not be easy, and he said the autopsy on the bodies could not be expected. So that was then.
Right.
Yeah.
And they haven't found the head.
And because of the way the burial suggested ritual killing.
Yeah, so it probably was the satanic murder.
Right.
Yeah, probably was.
So the Mad Butcher, which was in 1962, was a suspect. Because he kept flinging. Investigators believe that the butcher notched off at least 7 victims in his spree. The killer had distinct style. Roger's body was cut in ways that a surgeon or an animal butcher would serve body parts. That's how he chopped up. So they kind of eliminated him
Okay.
because of how crude the stuff pack was. Yeah. So they had 2 people, but they really felt like it was that one guy. So Wickline is the butcher that I was talking about.
Okay.
And then there's and then they really think it's a student that these girls went with.
And he must have, I think it was a cult. It was more than just him, especially the way the tomb's built and stuff. Like,
right.
It probably took more than one person to do that. It was probably a group of people doing ritualistic, satanic stuff back then.
So in 2009, this Richard Hall said he didn't believe Clausen's account. He's convinced that he knows who actually killed the women, a conclusion he said he came to in 2009. "I'm satisfied that I know who the killer is. I'm sure. Hall wouldn't say who the man is or how he came to his conclusion. The man was a WVU student," he said. Yeah. And they declined to revisit the case in 1970 and 2009. So, that is the story of the 2 missing co-eds in January 18th. Alright, I promise our shows will get better after this one. We've been on for an hour. We just kind of wanted to get an introduction and fill out some of the material. There's a lot.
Oh, yeah, there's so much.
So,
but it's going to be interesting.
Yeah, so you can join us next Friday about this time, and we will go into more about this James Childer.
We're going to find out a little more.
Right. And also give you a little recap on one of our historical people. Who did you mention?
Oh, I had mentioned Carl Panzram. I'll have to get a little more. Yeah. Maybe I can tell. Because his prison, there's a whole documentary. It's really good.
Right.
Yes.
And we'll introduce another one of our unsolved, and hopefully be able to reach out and talk to and gain some more information on some of Marion County's unsolved murders.
That's right.
All right. Peace out.
Thank you for listening.
BB Hit.